Flat and fat. Those were the two words that Sarah thought of when she looked in the mirror, which she did a lot. How could someone with such a curvy belly to be as flat as an ironing board everywhere else? Other girls could describe their shapes as being like an hourglass or a pear. Sarah was like shaped like a potato. Looking at her bulbous nose, her prominent ears, and how all her parts seemed stuck onto her body at random, she was reminded of Miss Mix-and-Match doll she had as a kid. The one with different eyes, ears and nose, mouths and other body parts you could stuck on her to make her look as hilarious as you wanted. And so that was the nickname she came up with for herself, Mrs. Mix and Match. But at least Miss Mix and Match had Mr. Mix and Match. Unlike the girls at school whom she called the Beautifuls, Sarah didn't have a boyfriend or any prospect of one. Sure, there was one boy she looked at, dreamed of, but she knew he wasn't looking at or dreaming of her. She guessed that she, like Miss Mix and Match, in her single days, would just have to wait around until some equally unfortunate-looking guy came along. But in the meantime, she needed to finish getting ready for school. Still looking at her worst enemy, the mirror, she applied some mascara and pink-tinted lip balm. For her birthday, her mom had finally given her permission to wear a little light makeup. She gave her dull, mousy brown hair a thorough brushing. She sighed. It was as good as it was going to get, but it wasn't good. The walls of Sarah's room were decorated with potatoes and models of pop stars she had cut out of magazines. Oh, I'm sorry. Decorated with photos of models and pop stars she had cut out of magazines. Their eyes were smoky, their lips full, their legs long. They were slender, curvy, and confident, young but womanly, and their perfect bodies were wearing clothes Sarah couldn't even dream of affording. Sometimes, when she was getting ready for in the morning, she felt as if these goddesses of beauty were looking at her with disappointment. Oh, they seemed to say, is that what you're wearing? Or no hope of modeling career for you, sweetheart. Still, she liked having the goddesses there. If she couldn't see beauty when she looked in the mirror, at least she could see it when she looked at the walls. In the kitchen, her mom, was dressed for work in a long, floral print dress, her salt and pepper hair long and loose down her back. Her mom never wore makeup or did anything special with her hair, and she had the tendency to put on weight around her hips. Still, Sarah had to admit that her mom had a natural prettiness she herself lacked. Maybe it skips a generation, Sarah thought. Hey, Cupkin, Mom said. I picked up some bagels. I got that kind you like with all the seeds. You want me to pop one in the toaster for you? No, I'll just have a yogurt, Sarah said, though her mouth watered at the thought of the toasty, everything bagel slender and cream cheese. I don't need all those carbs. Mom rolled her eyes. Sarah, those little yogurt cups you live on just 90 calories in them. It's a wonder you don't pass out from hunger in school. She took a big bite of the bagel she had fixed for herself. She had put the top and bottom together sandwich style, and cream cheese squished out when she chumped it. Besides, Mom says, her mouth full, you're too much too young to be worrying about carbs, and you're much too old not to be worrying about them. Sarah wanted to say, but she stopped herself. Instead, she said, a yogurt and a bottle of water will be plenty to hold me over till lunchtime. Suit yourself, Mom said, but I'm telling you, this bagel's delicious. Unlike most mornings, Sarah's actually made it to the school bus in time, so she didn't have to walk. She sat by herself and watched YouTube makeup tutorials on her phone. Maybe on her next birthday, Mom would let her wear more than mascara and BB cream and tinted lip balm. She could get what she needed to do some real contouring to make her cheekbones look more pronounced and her nose less ball bones. Getting her brows done professionally would also really help. Right now, she and her teasers were fighting a daily battle against an unibrow. Before first period, she got her science book out of her locker. She saw them. They swirled down the hall like supermodels doing a runaway show, and everybody stopped what they were doing to watch them. Linda, Jillian, Tabitha, and Emma. They were cheerleaders. They were royalty. They were stars. They were who every girl in the school wanted to be and who every boy in the school wanted to be with. They were the beautifuls. Each girl had their own particular brand of beauty. Linda had blonde hair and blue eyes and a rosy complexion, while Jillian had fiery red hair and cat-like green eyes. Tabitha was dark with chocolate brown eyes and luxurious black hair. And Emma had chestnut hair and enormous doe-like brown eyes. All the girls had long hair, the better to flip luxuriously over their shoulder, and were slender but with enough curves to fill out their clothes with a bust and hips. And their clothes were as beautiful as they were, all bought at high-end stores in big cities they visit in their vacations. Today they were all wearing black and white. Apologies for that one. A short black dress with a white collar and cuffs for Linda. A white shirt with a black and white polka dot miniskirt for Julian. A black and white stripe. What are they, penguins? A voice cut off Sarah's admiring thoughts. Huh? Sarah turned to see Abby, her best friend since kindergarten, standing beside her. She was wearing some kind of hideous poncho and long, loose floral print skirt. She looked like she should be running a fortune-telling booth at the school carnival. I said they look like penguins, Abby said. Let's hope there aren't any happy seals around. She made a loud barking sound and then laughed. You're crazy, Sarah said. I think they look perfect. You always do, Abby said. She was hugging her social studies book against her chest, and I have a theory about why. You have a theory about everything, Sarah said. It was true. Abby wanted to be a scientist, and all those theories would probably come in handy one day when she works in her PhD. You know how we used to play Barbies when we were little? Abby said. When they were little, Sarah and Abby had each other a pink carrying case filled with Barbies and their varieties clothes and accessories. They had taken turns carrying their cases to each other's house and had played for hours. Stop only for juice box and Graham crackers breaks. Life had been so easy back then. Yeah, Sarah said. It was funny. Abby hadn't changed much since those days. She still wore her hair in the same braid, still wore gold wire framed glasses. The braces on her teeth and a few inches of height were the only differences. Still, when Sarah looked at Abby, she could at least see the opportunity for beauty was there. Abby had the flawless coffee and cream complexion and startling hazel eyes behind those glasses of hers. She took dance classes after school and had a graceful, slender body, even if she hid it under hideous ponchos and other baggy clothes. Sarah had no beauty, and it tormented her. Abby had beauty, but didn't care about it enough to be noticed. My theory, Abby said, getting animated the way she did when she was lecturing, is that you used to love to play with Barbies, but now you're too old for them. You need a Barbie substitution. Those empty-headed fashions are yours Barbie substitute. That's why you want to play with them. Play? Sometimes it was like Abby was still a little kid. I don't want to play with them, Sarah said, though she wasn't sure this was exactly true. I'm too old to want to play with anyone. I'm just admiring them, is all. Abby rolled her eye. What is there to admire? The fact that they can match their eye shawls to their outfits? Phew, excuse me. I think I'm going to admire Mary, Kurt, and Rosie Parks. Sarah smiled. Abby had always been such a nerd. A lovable nerd, but still a nerd. Well, you never had much interest in fashion. I remember how you used to treat your Barbies. Abby grinned back. Well, there was the one I shaved bald, and then there was the one with the hair I colored green with with a magic marker, so she looked like some kind of crazy supervillain. She wiggled her eyebrows. Now, if those teen queens would like to play it that way, I might be interested. Sarah laughed. You're the one who's the supervillain. Nope, Abby said. Just a smart aleck. Which is why I'm way more fun than those cheerleaders. Abby gave a little wave and then hurried off to class. Ate lunch? Sarah sat across from Abby. It was a Friday, which was pizza day, and in Abby's tray was one of the school's regular pizza slices, a cup of fruit cocktail, and a carton of milk. School pizza wasn't the best, but it was still pizza, so it was pretty good. Too many carbs, though. Sarah had hit the salad bar instead and had gotten a green salad with low-fat and a green dressing. She liked ranch a lot better than vinaigrine, but ranch added too much calories. The other kids at the table were the nerds who hurry through their lunch so they can play card games until the bell rang. Sarah knew the beauties called it the loser table. Sarah stabbed her lettuce with her dull plastic fork. What would you do, she asked Abby, if you had $1,000,000? Abby grinned. Oh, that's easy. First wait, Sarah said because she knew the kind of thing Abby was going to say. You're not allowed to say you give it to to Humane Society or the homeless or whatever. The money's just spent on yourself. Abby smiled. Well, since it's imaginary money, I don't feel any guilty. That's right, Sarah said, crunching on the baby carrots. Okay, Abby took a bite of a pizza and chewed frugally. Well, in that case, I'll use it to travel. Paris first, I think, with my mom and dad and brother. We'll stay in a fancy hotel and go to the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre and eat at the best restaurants and stuff ourselves with pastries and drink coffee at fancy cafe and people watch. What would you do? Sarah pushed her salad around her plate. Well, I'll definitely get my teeth professionally whitened. And I'll go to one of those high-end salons and get my hair cut and color blonde, but a realistic-looking blonde. I'll get skin treatment and a makeover with really good makeup, not the cheap drugstore kind, and I'll get a nose job. There are other cosmetic producers I like to have, but I don't think they'll all do them on a kid. And they shouldn't, Abby said. She looked shocked, like Sarah had something really bad. Seriously, you put yourself through all the pain and suffering just to change the way you look? I had my tonsils taken out, and it was horrible. I never have another operation if I can help it. She looked at Sarah intensely. What's wrong with your nose anyway? Sarah put her hand on her nose. Isn't it obvious? It's huge, Abby laughed. No, it's not. It's just a regular nose. A nice nose. And when you think about it, does anyone really have a beautiful nose? Noses are kind of weird. I actually have an animal nose better than anyone people knows. My dog has a really cute nose. Sarah's not. Should I glance over the beautiful table? All of them have perfect tiny nose, adorable little buttons, not a potato nose in the bunch. Abby looked over the table where Sarah was looking. Oh, the penguins again? Okay, so the thing about penguins is that they may be cute, but they all look alike. You're a person, and you should look like an individual. Yeah, an ugly individual, Sarah said, pushing away her salad plate. No, a nice-looking individual who worries too much about her appearance. Abby reached out and touched Sarah's forehead. You changed a lot in the past couple of years, Sarah. We used to talk about books and movies and music. Now you all want to talk about is how you don't like the way you look, and about the clothes and hairstyles and makeup you wish you could afford. And instead of having pictures of your wall of cute baby animals like you used to, you got a picture of all those skinny models. I like the baby animals a lot better. Sarah felt anger rising like bile in her throat. How dare Abby judge her? Friends were supposed to be the people who didn't judge you. She stood up. You're right, Abby, she said loud enough for the other people. I have changed. I've grown up, and you haven't. I think about adult things, and you still buy stickers and watch cartoons and draw horses. Sarah was so angry that she marched off and left her tray on the table for someone else to clean up. By the time school was over, Sarah had a plan. She wasn't going to sit at the loser table anymore because she wasn't going to be a loser. She was going to be as popular and pretty as she possibly could be. It was amazing how quickly her plan fell into place. As soon as she was home, she dug into the dresser drawer where she kept her money. She had $20 of birthday money from her grandma and 10 left from her allowance. It was enough. The beauty supply store was just about 15 minutes walk from home. She could get there, back, and do what she needed to do before her mom gets home at 6. The store was brightly lit with a row and row of beautiful products, brushes and curling irons, hair dryers, nail polishing, and makeup. She had to the aisle labeled hair color. She didn't have to have $1 million to become a blonde. She could do it for around $10 and just look like a million. She selected a box marked pure platinum, decorated with a picture of a smile model with long, luminous white blonde hair, beautiful. The woman in the checkout counter had obviously dyed bright red hair and false eyelash that made her resemble a giraffe. Now, if you want your hair to look like a picture, you have to bleach it first, she said. Bleach it? How? She asked. Her mom used bleach and water to clean the floor sometimes. Surely this wasn't the same thing. You want to get the product side that's back in the aisle too. The cashier's here. When Sarah returned with a plastic bottle, the woman looked at her with narrow eyes. Does your mama know you're about to color your hair, hun? Oh, sure, Sarah said, not making eye contact. She doesn't mind? She didn't know if her mom would mind or not. She guessed that she would find out. Yeah, that's good, then, she said, ringing up Sarah's purchases. Maybe she can help you. Make sure you get the color on good and even. At home, Sarah locked herself in the bathroom, and read the directions from the box of the hair colors. They seemed simple enough. She put on the plastic gloves that came with the hair dye kit, dropped a towel around her shoulders, and worked on the peroxide with her hair. She wasn't sure how long to leave the peroxide on, so she sat on the edge of the bathtub and played a few games on her phone and watched some YouTube makeup tutorials. First, her scalp started to itch. Then it started to burn. It burned as if someone had thrown a handful of light matches into her hair. She quickly typed in her phone, how long to leave peroxide in hair. The answer was simple, was no longer than 30 minutes. How long had she had left? She dumped in her feet, grabbed a detachable shower head, turned the water on cold, and leaned her shoulder over the tub and started spraying the frigid water, smoothing her fierce scalp. When she looked at the bathroom mirror, her hair was stark white, like she had become an old woman way before her time. The bathroom stank of bleach, making her nose run and her eyes water. She cracked the window and opened the bottle of hair color. It was time to complete her transformation. She shook up the hair color ingredients in the squeeze bottle and swirled the magnets all over her hair and massages in it. She set an alarm on her phone to go off 25 minutes, and settled in the wait. By the time her mom got her, so was going to look like a whole new person. Sarah played happily on her phone until the alarm buzzed, then rinsed off again with a decorative shower head. She didn't bother with the conditioner that came with the hair color kit because she was too obnoxious to see the results. She toweled off her hair and stepped on the mirror to see the new her. She screamed. She screamed so loud the neighbor's dog started barking. Her hair was not platinum blonde, but sewage green. She fought up Abby when they were little colored Barbie hairs with a green magic marker. Now she was the Barbie. How? How could she do something to make herself pretty and end up being even uglier than before? Why was life so unfair? She ran to her room, fudging herself in the bed, and cried. She must have cried herself into a miserable sleep because the next thing she knew, her mom was sitting on, saying, "What happened here?" She looked up and she could see the shock in her mom's eyes. I was trying to color my hair. Sarah sobbed. I wanted to be blonde, but I'm. You're green. I can see that, Mom said. Well, I would say there would be consequences from you coloring your hair without my permission. But I think you already experienced some of those. You are going to clean up the bathroom, though. But for right now, we need to see what we can do to make you look like a Martian. She touched Sarah's hair. Oof, it feels like straw. Listen, put on your shoes. The hair salon at the mall should still be open. Maybe we can fix this. Sarah put on her shoes and stuffed her moss-colored trenches under the basketball bat. When they got in the salon and Sarah yanked off the cap, the stylish gasped. Well, it's a good thing you came 911. This is definitely a hair emergency. An hour and a half later, Sarah was back to having brown hair, now a few inches shorter because of the Stylish had to cut off the damaged ends. Well, Mom said, once they were in the car and the way home, that was a big chunk of my paycheck. I probably should have just let you go to school with green hair. Would have served you right. Sarah returned home not in a blaze of blonde glory, but her usual mousy brown self. Still, when lunchtime rolled around, she resolved that, even without blonde hair, she wasn't going to sit on the loser table. She served herself with a salad bar, then walked right past where Abby was sitting. She didn't need Abby to criticize her today. A knot formed in her stomach as she approaches the beauty's table. They must have decided today was jeans day because they were all wearing cute skinny jeans with a fitting Julian colored top and matching slip-on canvas shoes. Sarah sat down at the opposite end of the table, far away, for she didn't seem to be interrupting, but close enough that they would include her if she wanted. She waited a few minutes, expecting one to tell her to go away, but nobody did. She released and hopeful, but then she realized that none of them even seemed to see her. They just kept right on their conversation like she was invisible. She did not say that. Oh, yes, she did. No, yes. But then what did he say? Sarah pushed her salad around the plate and tried to follow the conversation. But she had no idea who they were talking about, and she certainly wasn't going to ask them. Probably they wouldn't even hear her if she said something. If they couldn't see her, they probably couldn't hear her either. She felt like a ghost. She picked up her tray and handed it toward the trash can, despite getting out of the cafeteria, desperate to get out of the whole school, really. But there were still 7th and 8th periods to suffer through. Boring social studies and stupid math. Lost in her stuffering, she bumped right into the tall boy, dumped the remains of her salad and crispy white shirt. She looked up at the ocean blue eyes of Mason Blur, the most perfect guy in school, the guy she had always hoped might know his hair. Hey, watch where you're going, he said, picking the common signs off his expensive designer shirt. The vigorine-covered vegetables had left a perfect oil circle on... Sorry, she squealed, then threw the rest of her salad, what Mason wasn't wearing, into the trash and half ran out. What a nightmare. She had wanted Mason to notice her, but not this way. Not as the ugly, clumsy girl that which frizzy brown hair who gave it a new meaning of the words tossed salad. When did everything have to go wrong for her? The beauties never did anything stupid or clumsy, never humiliated themselves in front of the cute boy. Their beauty was like a suit of armor that protected them from life's pain and embarrassment. And the school day finally dragged to an end. Sarah decided to walk home instead of taking a bus. Given how her day had been, she didn't feel like she would have taken the risk of being with a big group of kids again. It would be just an inevitable disaster. She walked alone, telling herself she might as well get used to solitude. She was always going to be alone. She passed the Bribing Cow, the ice cream stand where the beauties went with their boyfriends after school, laughed as they sat together in picnic tables, sharing milkshakes and sundaes, and of course, the beauties could scarf all the ice cream all they want and not gain an ounce. Life was so unfair. To get to her house, Sarah had to walk past the wreckage yard. It was an ugly expanse of dirt filled with a destroyed corpse of cars. There were smashed pickup trucks, smashed SUVs, and vehicles that had been reduced to nothing more than rusted helps of junks. She was sure that none of the beauties would pass a place so hideous on their way home. Even though the junker was horrible, or maybe because it was so horrible, she couldn't help looking at when she passed by. She was like a passing driver junking an accident at the side of the road. The car nearest the fence definitely fit into the heap of junk category. It was one of those big old sedans that only very elderly people still drove. The kind of car Sarah's mom called a land yacht. This yacht had seen better days and only been a light blue. Now it was a mostly rusty orange-brown. In some places the rust had eaten all the way through the metal, and the car's body was so battered it looked like it had been attacked by an angry mob wielding baseball bats. Then she saw an arm. A thin, delicate arm was sticking out of the truck of the car. It was a little white hand with fingers outstretched as if waving hello, or waving for help, like someone who has been drowning. Sarah burned with curiosity. What was that hand attached to? The gate was unlocked. No one seemed to be watching. After looking around to make sure no one was nearby, she stepped inside the wrecking yard. She approached the old sedan and touched the arm. Then the hand, it was a metal. From the feel of it, she found the handle of the truck and pulled it, but the lever wouldn't budge. The car was so dented and battered that the truck wouldn't open and close properly anymore. Sarah thought of the story a teacher had read to her class once in elementary school about King Arthur pulling a sword from a stone where no one else could. Could she pull this doll, or whatever it was, from this wrecked vehicle? She looked around until she found a strong, flat piece of metal that could maybe work as a substitute crowbar. Sarah braced her foot against the car's crumbled bumper, slid the metal inside the trunk door, and pierced upward. The first time she tried, it didn't give at all. But the second time, it flipped open and threw her off balance. She fell backward and landed on her butt in the dirt. She stood up and expected the owner of the hand she had seen sticking out of the truck. Was it a discarded doll, outgrown by some little girl and tossed in the trash to end up in a dump? The thought made Sarah sad. Sarah pulled the doll from the truck and stood up to feet. Though she had looked, it wasn't sure doll was the right word to describe it. It was a few inches taller than Sarah herself. It was all jointed, so that its limbs and waist looked movable. Was it some kind of mannequin? Marionette? A robot? Whatever it was beautiful. It had wide, green, long, lashless eyes, pink Cupid bow tie, a pink circles on her cheeks. Its face was painted like a clown's, but a pretty clown. Its red hair was pulled up in a twin pigtail on the top of the head. And its body was sleek and silver. with a long neck and tiny waist and a round bust and hip. Its leg and arms were long, slender, and elegant. It looked like a robot version of a gorgeous supermodel whose pictures hang up on the walls of Sarah's room. Where did it come from? And why would someone get rid of such a beautiful, perfect object? Well, if whoever put this thing into the dump didn't want it, then Sarah did. She picked up the girl-shaped robot and found it surprisingly light. She carried it sideways, her arms around its delicate waist. At home in her room, Sarah set the girl robot down on the floor. It was a little tarnished and dusty, as if it had been in the trash heap for a while. Sarah went to the kitchen and got a rag and a bottle of cleaner that was supposed to be safe for metal surfaces. She sprayed and wiped on the front of the robot inch by inch, from head to toe. The shininess made it more beautiful, as Sarah got behind the robot to clean the other side. She noticed the on and off switch at the back of its head, on the small end of its back. After she finished wiping it down, she turned the switch position to on. Nothing happened. Sarah turned away, slightly disappointed. The roll was still cool to have, though, even if it didn't do anything. But then a rattling sound made Sarah turn back around. The robot was shaking all over, like it was either going to rave up or break up entirely. Then it went still. Sarah redesigned herself once again to the idea that the robot wasn't going to do anything, until it did. The robot's waist pulled, making its upper body move. It slowly raised its arms and then put them down. Its head turned to face Sarah, seemed to look at her with its big green eyes. "Hello, friend," it said, in a slightly metallic-sounding version of a young girl's voice. "My name is Eleanor." Sarah knew the thing couldn't be talking to her personally, but it felt like it was. "Hi," she whispered, feeling a little silly for entering into a conversation with an inanimate object. "I'm Sarah." "Nice to meet you, Sarah," the girl robot said. Whoa, it had said her name back to her. It must have had some symbolic built-in computer or something, Sarah thought. It was the kind of thing her brother might know about. He was in college, majoring in computer science. The robot took a surprising smooth steps towards Sarah. "Thank you for rescuing me and cleaning me up, Sarah," Eleanor, the robot said. "I feel as good as new." Sarah gave a pretty feminine twirl, her short skirt billowing. Sarah's mouth was hanging open. Was this thing capable of actual conversations? Of actual thought? You're welcome," she said. "Now," Eleanor said, placing her cold, hard little hand on Sarah's cheek, "you tell me what I can do for you, Sarah." Sarah stared at the robot's blankly pretty face. "What do you mean? You did something nice for me. Now, I must do something nice for you." Eleanor cocked her head like an adorable puppy. "What do you want, Sarah?" "I want to make your wishes come true." Nothing really," Sarah said. It wasn't the truth. But really, how could this robot make her wishes come true? "Everybody wants something," Eleanor said, brushing Sarah's hair away from her face. "What do you want, Sarah?" Sarah took a deep breath. She looked at the images of models and actresses and pop stars on her wall. She might as well say it. Eleanor was a robot. She couldn't judge her. "I want," she whispered, feeling embarrassed. "I want to be beautiful." Eleanor clapped her hands. "To be beautiful! What a wonderful wish! But it is a large wish, Sarah, and I am petting. Give me 24 hours, and I will plan to start making this wish come true." "Okay, sure," Sarah said, but she didn't believe for 1 minute that this robot has the ability to transform her looks. She couldn't even quite believe that she was having a real conversation with it. When Sarah woke up the next morning, Eleanor was standing in the corner and still as lifeless as the other decorative objects in Sarah's room. No more alive than the stuffed Freddy Fazbear she had on her bed since she was 6. Maybe the conversation in Eleanor was just been a particular vivid dream. That afternoon, when Sarah got home from school, Eleanor parted her waist, raised her lower arms, and moved smoothly over to Sarah. "I made you something, Sarah," she said. Eleanor put her hands behind her back and produced a necklace. It was a clunky silver chain with a small, cartoonish silver heart patent dangling from it. It was unusually pretty. "You made this for me?" Sarah said. "I did," Eleanor said. "I want you to make me a promise. I want you to put this necklace on and never, ever take it off. Do you promise me you'll keep it on always?" "I promise," Sarah said. "Thank you for making it for me. It's beautiful." "And you will be beautiful too," Eleanor said. "Since your wish is so big, Sarah, I can only grant it a little at a time. But if you wear this necklace and keep it on, each morning you will wake up you'll be a little bit more beautiful than the day before." Eleanor held the necklace and Sarah took it. "Okay, thanks," Sarah said, not believing Eleanor for a minute, but she put on the necklace anyway because it was pretty. "It looks good on you," Eleanor said. "Now, for the necklace to work, you have to let me sing you to sleep." "Like now?" Sarah asked. Eleanor nodded. "It's early though. Mom isn't even home from work yet. For the necklace to work, you have to let me sing to you sleep," Eleanor repeated. "Well, I guess I could take a little nap," Sarah said, not entirely sure if she wasn't already asleep or dreaming. "Get into bed," Eleanor said, moving in her smooth stroll inside of Sarah's bed. Even though she was a robot, everything about Eleanor was so feminine and lovely. Sarah pulled back the covers and got into bed. Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed and stroked Sarah's hair with her cold little hands. She sang, "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my sweet Sarah. When you wake, all your dreams will come true." Before Eleanor sang the last note, Sarah was asleep. Before Eleanor sang the last note, Sarah was asleep. Sarah was unusually groggy and grumpy in the morning, but this morning she woke up feeling great. Eleanor, she noticed, was standing still in the corner of the room with her imminent object posed. Somehow Eleanor being there made Sarah feel safe, as if Eleanor was standing guard. Maybe Eleanor was just an inanimate object. Sarah thought that she sat up in bed, but when she reached up and felt the silver heart pendant hanging just below her throat, if the necklace was real, then talk she had with Eleanor must be real too. As she moved her hand away from the necklace, she noticed something else. Her arms, both her arms actually, they were slimmer and more toned somehow, and their skin, which was unusually sallow, was healthy and glowing. The dark patches of skin she was prone to have disappeared, and both arms were soft and smooth to the touch. Even her usual cap elbows were as smooth as a kitten's nose. And her fingers, as she touched her arms with them, they felt different too. She stretched out her hands to inspect them. Her once stubby fingers were long, elegant, and tender. Her former nubby nails were now longer than her fingertips, and shaped in perfect ovals. Amazingly, they were also painted in gorgeous soft pink, each nail like a perfect rose petal. Sarah ran to the mirror to give herself a full inspection. Same mix and match face, nose, and body, but now with a perfect pair of arms and legs. Arms and hands. She thought of Eleanor's words from last night. Each morning, when you wake up, you'll be a little more beautiful than the day before. Sarah was definitely a little bit more beautiful. Was this the way it was going to work, that every morning a different part of her would transform? She darted to the corner where Eleanor was staring. "I love my new arms and hands, thank you," she said to the unmoving robot. "So, am I going to wake up every morning to one new part until I'm totally transformed?" Eleanor didn't move. Her face kept the same painted-on expression. "Well, maybe I'll just have to wait and see, huh?" Sarah said. "Thanks again." She stood on tiptoe, kissing the robot on its cold, hard cheek, and then hurried to the kitchen for breakfast. Her mother was sitting at the table with a cup of coffee and a half a grapefruit. "Wow, I didn't even have to yell for you to get out of bed this morning. What's going on?" Sarah shrugged. "Oh, no, I just woke up feeling good. I slept well, I guess." She poured some cornflakes in her bowl and drenched them with milk. "Well, you already passed out when I got home. I thought about waking you for dinner, but you were out like a light," Mom said. She watched as Sarah shoveled in cereal. "And you're eating real food, too. Would you like the other half of this grapefruit?" "Sure, thanks," Sarah said. As he reached for the grapefruit, her mom grabbed her hand. "Hey, when did you let your nails grow out?" Sarah knew she wouldn't say it last night, so she said, "Over the past couple of weeks, I guess." "Well, they look fantastic," Mom said, giving her hand a squeeze before letting go. "Healthy, too. Have you been taking those vitamins I bought you?" Sarah hadn't been, but said yes anyway. "Good," her mom said, smiling. "It's definitely paying off." After breakfast, Sarah selected a pink shirt that commonly her nail color and took some extra time with her hair and makeup. At school, she felt a little less invisible. When she was in the restroom washing her hands, Jillian, one of the beautifuls, came in. She checked her perfect face and hair in the mirror, then glanced down at Sarah's hand. "Oh, I love that polish," she said. Sarah was so shocked she could barely manage to say thanks. Jillian fled out of the bathroom, no doubt to join her popular friends. But she had seen Sarah. She had noticed Sarah. And she had liked at least one thing about her. Sarah smiled to herself for the rest of the day. Eleanor was mostly nocturnal. When the last of the winter daylight started to fade, her provider of her waist moved her arms up and sprang to life. "Hello, Sarah," she said in her tiny little voice. "Are you a little more beautiful today than you were yesterday, just like I promised?" "Yes," Sarah said. She couldn't remember ever feeling so grateful. "Thank you." Eleanor nodded her head. "Good. And you are a little happier today than you were yesterday?" "I am," Sarah said. Eleanor clapped her little hands. "Good. That's what I want, to grant your wish to make you happy." Sarah still couldn't believe that this is all happening. "That's really nice of you, but why?" "I told you. You saved me, Sarah. You pulled me out of the trash heap, cleaned me up, and brought me back to life. So now I want to grant your wishes just like a fairy godmother. Would you like that?" Her voice, while mentally sounded kind. "Yes," Sarah said. "Why wouldn't I like a fairy godmother?" "Good," Eleanor said. "Then never, ever take off the necklace and let me sing you to sleep. When you wake up, you'll be a little more beautiful than you are today." Sarah hesitated. She knew her mom would have thought it was weird that when she came home yesterday evening and found Sarah already asleep. If Sarah fell asleep early every night, her mom would worry that she was sick or something. Plus, there was a homework issue. If she stopped doing her homework, then too would arouse suspicion. Both at home and school. "I'll let you sing to me to sleep," Sarah said. "But could it be in a few hours? I need to eat dinner with my mom and then do my homework." "If you must," Eller said, sounding a little disappointed. "But it is necessary to let me put you to sleep as early as possible. It's important to get your beauty rest." After the spaghetti dinner and an hour and a half of math and English. Sarah took a quick shower, brushed her teeth, and put on her nightgown. Then she approached Eleanor, who was standing still in the corner. "I'm ready," Sarah said. "Then get in bed like a good girl," Eleanor said. Sarah climbed under the covers, and Eleanor came to the bed with her rolling gait. She sat on the edge of the bed and reached out to touch Sarah's heart-shaped pendant. "Remember to keep it on always and never, ever take it off," Eleanor said. "I remember," Sarah said. Eleanor stroked Sarah's hair with her cold little hands and sang her lullaby. "Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my sweet Sarah. When you wake up, all your dreams will come true." Once again, Sarah fell asleep before she even knew what hit her. She woke up feeling refreshed, and when she stood up, she seemed to stand a little straight, a little pronounced, a little taller. She ran to the mirror and pulled her nightgown to expose her legs. They were magnificent. She was no longer stubby mix and match with legless feet stuck to her stubby body. Her legs were long and shapely, with toned calves and dainty ankles, a model's leg. When she ran her hands over them, the skin was smooth and sleek. She looked down and noticed that the nails were perfect. Adorable toes were polished the same pink rosy as her fingernails. Sarah usually wore jeans to school, better to cover her stubby limbs, but today she was going to wear a dress. She ran to her closet and took the lovely lavender dress her mom had bought her last spring. She hadn't liked the way it looked on her then, but now it showed off her long, shaped arms and legs. She slipped on some bad-laid flats and admired her reflection in the mirror. She still didn't look exactly how she wanted to. That potato nose that had to go, for one thing. But she was definitely making progress. She put on the little bit of makeup she allowed to wear, brushed her hair, and went down to breakfast. Her mom was standing in the store, stirring eggs and pan. "Look at you, you're a knockoff." Mom looked at her up and down, smiling. "It's a picture day or something?" "No," Sarah said, sitting down at the table and pouring herself a glass of oranges. "I just felt like making an effort today." "Is there someone special you're making an effort for?" Mom asked with a teasing tone. Sarah's mind wandering for a moment of Blaze and Blair, but the image turned into bumping into her head and covering with salad. "No, just for me, I guess." Mom smiled. "Well, that's really nice to hear. Hey, do you want some eggs?" Sarah felt a sudden ravaging hunger. "Sure," she said. Her mom dished up scrambled eggs and toast for each of them and then sat down. "I don't know what it is," Mom said, "but for the past couple of days you just seemed so much more mature and easy to talk to." She sipped her coffee and looked thoughtfully. "Maybe you've just been going through an awkward stage the last year or so, and you're starting to outgrow it," Smile said. "Yeah, I think that may be it, the awkward stage of my life before I met Eleanor," she thought. At school, Sarah saw Abby in the hall and felt like a pang of missing her. The two of them had so much history together, going back to the days of finger painting date all, but Abby was stubborn. If Sarah waited for Abby to apologize to her, it might never happen. She walked up to Abby and Haruka. "Hey," Sarah said. "Hey." Abby dug around her locker and didn't make eye contact with her. "Listen," Sarah said. "I'm sorry I said those mean things to you the other day." Abby finally looked at her. "Hey, they weren't wrong. I do like cartoons and stickers and horse." "Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sticker and horse or cartoon are nice. And you're nice. And I'm sorry, friends." She held her hand, and Abby laughed and hugged her instead. When Abby pulled away her hug, she looked at Sarah up and down. "Hey, have you gotten taller or something?" There was no way she could explain it. "No, I'm just working on having a better posture." "Well, you're definitely succeeding." Eleanor had put Sarah to sleep in her usual sweet song the night before. This morning, still laying in bed, she looked at her body to see if she could tell which parts had gotten an upgrade. To her surprise, the parts of her had been soft and flabby, now tight and toned, and the parts that had been flat and childish had now been round and feminine. Sarah chose a fitted t-shirt and dented miniskirts to wear to school. Her pitiful little training bra wouldn't hook anymore, so she had to make do with a sports bra she wore for gym class. It was a tight fit. At breakfast, she asked her mom, "Can we maybe go shopping this week?" "Well, I get paid on Friday, so a little shopping wouldn't be out of the question," Mom said, pouring herself more coffee. "Anything particular you're looking for?" Sarah looked down at her chest, then grinned sleepishly. "Oh," her mom said, sounding startled. "Well, those certainly stuck up on me. Of course we can buy you some bras that fit." She smiled and shook her head. "I can't believe how fast you're growing up." "Neither can I." It was true. It felt like it happened overnight, Mom said. Because it does, Sarah thought. At school, Sarah could feel eyes on her, boys' eyes, for the first time she felt noticed. She felt seen. It was dazzling, excitingly. In the hall, the trio of boys, cute boys, looked at her, and then looked at one another and whispered something, then laughed. But it wasn't mean or mocking laugh. Wondering what they'd say, Sarah looked back at them and bumped right into, no, it couldn't be. Not again. Mason Blur. She felt her face flushing and bracing herself in him to her to watch where he was going again, but instead he smiled. He had really great teeth, straight and white. "We have to stop bumping into each other like this," he said. "Actually, I think it's me bumping into you," Sarah said. "At least I wasn't carrying a salad this time." "Yeah." His smile was dazzling. That was really funny." "Yeah," Sarah said. It was stuck up as a strange that he said that the salad instead was funny now. When it had happened, he seemed annoyed. "Well, if you're going to keep running into me, I at least need to know your name. I can't just keep calling you Salad Girl." "I'm Sarah, but you can call me Salad Girl if you want." "Nice to meet you, Sarah. I'm Mason." "I know." She could have kicked herself, so much to playing it cool. Okay, well, see you around, Sarah the salad girl. She gave her one last flash of a smile. See you, Sarah said. She continued on her way to English, but all she could think about was that she just have a conversation, a real human conversation, with Mason Blur. Sarah sat down next to Abby in class. Mason Blur just talked to me, Sarah whispered. Like, talk to me, talk to me. I'm not surprised, Abby whispered back. There's something about you lately. What do you mean? Abby crinkled her forehead the way she did when she was thinking hard. I don't know. I can't exactly put into words. It's like you're glowing from the inside out. Sarah smiled. Yeah, well, that's what it's like. But really, it was the changes on the outside that were making her glow inside. In the evening, after Eleanor did her wake-up movements, Sarah threw her arms around her. It was strange to hug something so hard and cold. And when Eleanor's arms encircled Sarah, it felt like a flicker that could have been feared. But she quickly pushed the feeling away. There was nothing to be afraid of. Eleanor was her friend. Eleanor, Sarah said, drawing back from her hug, I couldn't be happier with my new body. It's perfect. Thank you so much. I'm glad, Eleanor said, cocking her head. All I want is for you to be happy, Sarah. Well, I'm loads happier than I was before I found you, Sarah said. Today it's like I could feel all these people seeing me, and they liked what they saw. The guy I had a crush on for months even noticed me and talked to me. That's wonderful, Eleanor said. I'm glad I've been able to make all your wishes come true, Sarah. A dark cloud suddenly passed over the brightness of Sarah's moon. Well, not all of them. Sarah reached up and touched her potato-ish nose. Really? Eleanor sounded surprised. What is it that you still wish, Sarah? Sarah took a deep breath. I love my new body, she said. I really do, but I'm kind of what some guys call pretty from afar, but far from pretty. Eleanor cocked her head again. Pretty them afar? I don't understand, Sarah. Well, you know, guys will say she looks great from far away, but don't get too close on her face. Oh, far from pretty, Eleanor said. I understand now. She laughed, a metallic tinkle. It was very amusing. It's not if someone's using it to describe you, Sarah said. I suppose it isn't, Eleanor said. She reached up and touched Sarah's cheeks. Sarah, do you really want me to change all this? Do you want a new face? I do, Sarah said. I want my tiny nose and full lips and high cheekbones. I want a long, dark eyelash and nice eyebrows. I don't want to look like Mix and Match anymore. Eleanor laughed at her tinkling laugh again. I can do this for you, Sarah. But you have to understand, it's a big change. You can look in the mirror and see longer legs or a curvy figure, and they just look like you've grown, faster than expected maybe. But still, growth is normal for a child. It is something you know will happen all your life, though. You look in the mirror and see your face and say, that's me. It is true that your face changes some as you grow, but it's still recognizable as you. To see a totally different face as a reflection can be quite a shock. It's a shock I want, Sarah said. I hate my face the way it is. Very well, Sarah, Eleanor said, looking at her eyes as long as you're sure. After Sarah ate dinner with her mom and did her homework, she showered and got ready for Eleanor to put her to sleep one more time, but she snuggled up the curtains. A disturbing thought occurred to her. Eleanor? Yes, Sarah? She was already standing beside Sarah's bed. What will my mom think if I sat down to breakfast in the morning? I have a totally different face. Sarah sat down on the bed. It's a really good question, Sarah, but she won't notice, not really. She may think you look especially rested or well, but she won't notice that your plain face has been replaced with a beautiful one. Mothers always think their children are beautiful, so when your mother looks at you, she'll always see great beauty. Oh, okay, Sarah said, feeling relaxed again. No wonder her mother didn't understand her promise. She thought her daughter was already beautiful. I'm ready then. Eleanor touched Sarah's heart pounding. And you remember that I always have to wear and can never ever take it off. Yes, I remember. Good. Eleanor stroked Sarah's hair and sang one more time. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, my sweet Sarah. When you wake, all your dreams will come true. Just like before, Sarah felt the changes before she saw them. As soon as she wakes up, she reached up and touched her nose. She felt not the potato-like bulb, but a perky little point. She ran her hands over the sides of her face and felt clearly defined cheekbones. She touched her lips and found them plumpier than before. She hopped out of bed and took a look. It was amazing. The person looking back at Sarah was a totally different person than before. Eleanor was right. It was shocking, but it was a good kind of shock. Everything she hated about her appearance was gone and has been replaced with absolute perfection. Her eyes were wide and a deeper blue and fringed with long, sweet lashes. Her eyebrows were delicate arches. Her nose was tiny and perfectly straight, and her lips were a pink cupid's bow. Her hair, while still brown, was fluffier and shinier and fell into pretty, soft waves. She looked herself up and down. She smiled at herself with the straight white teeth. Beautiful. She was the total package. She surveyed the clothes in her closet. None of them seemed worthy for her new beauty. Maybe when Mom took her shopping for bras, they could also pick out a few outfits. After a lot of deliberation, she finally chose a red dress she bought on a whim, but never could find the courage to wear. Now, though, she deserves to be the center of attention. School was a totally new experience. She could feel everyone's eyes on her, guys and girls alike. When she looked at the beautifuls who also happened to wear red today, they looked back at her. not with disdain, but with interest. At lunch, she mouthed high on Abby that walked straight to where the Beatles were sitting. This time she didn't sit right down the table, but made a show and casually wandering past. Hey, new girl, Linda called. You want to sit with us? She wasn't remotely a new girl to the school, but she was a new girl in her looks. Sure, thanks, she said. She tried to sound casual, like it didn't make a difference to her whether she sat with them or with someone else. But inside, she was so excited she was turning cartwheels. All the beauties were sitting eating salads just like she was. So, Linda said, what's your name? Sarah. She hoped Sarah was the name they found acceptable. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't like Hilda or Bertha or anything. I'm Linda. Linda tossed her luxurious blonde hair. She was so pretty. Pretty enough to be a model. She would. She would fit right in the pictures of the walls of Sarah's room. And this is Jillian, Tabitha, and Emma. They needed no introduction, of course, but Sarah said hi like she'd never seen them before. So, Linda said, who's your dress by? Sarah had watched enough in fashion shows on TV to know Linda was asking about the designer. It's from Saks Fifth Avenue, she said. It was true. The label of the dress did read Saks Fifth Avenue. However, Sarah and her mom had bought it in the local thrift store. Her mom was so excited when they found it. She loved thriving. How often did you get to New York? Linda asked. Once or twice a year, Sarah lied. She had been to New York once when she was 11. She and her mom had seen the Broadway show Written in Fury with the Statue of Liberty and Gone with the Empire State Building. They had done no shopping in fancy stores. The only clothing Sarah had bought was a I Love New York t-shirt at the souvenir shop. A few washings had worn it as thin as a tissue paper, but she still slept in it sometimes. So, Sarah, Emma said, regarding her with her doe-like brown eyes. What do your mom and dad do for a living? Sarah tried not to whisper visibly at the word dad. Mom's a social worker, and before her dad had left Sarah and her mom, he had been a long-distance truck driver. Now he wasn't even sure what he did or where he lived. He moved a lot, changed girlfriends a lot. He called her on Christmas and birthday. He's a lawyer. The beautifuls nodded their approval. One more question. This came from Jillian, the redhead with the cat-like green eyes. Do you have a boyfriend? Sarah felt her face heat up. No, not at the moment. Well, Jillian said, leaning forward. Is there a boy you like? Sarah knew her face had to be as red as her dress. Yes, Jillian smiled. And his name is? Sarah looked around to make sure he wasn't nearby. Mason Blur, she half whispered. Oh, he's hot, Jillian said. Definitely hot, Linda echoed. Hot, the other girls repeated like a chorus. A chorus. So, Linda said, looking at Sarah over, don't follow us around like a puppy dog or anything. But if you want to sit with us at lunch, then sit. On Sunday afternoons, we could go to the mall and try on clothes and makeup, maybe get a froyo. It's lame, but it's something to do. This town's so boring, she yawned, theoretically. So boring, Sarah agreed, but inside she was buzzing with excitement. Linda nodded. We'll hang out a little and see how things go. If it works out, maybe you can go out for cheerleading next year. Consider this a trial period. Sarah left the cafeteria smiling to herself. Abby caught up to her. It looks like you were having some kind of intense job interview back there, Abby said. She was wearing gray sweatpants with a bulky purple sweater that did nothing to show her shape. Yeah, kind of. They invited me to hang out though, so I guess I passed the test. She couldn't stop herself from smiling. Abby raised an eyebrow. And those are the kind of friends you want? The kind that makes you pass the test? They're cool, Abby. They know all about fashion and makeup and guys. They're shallow, Sarah. They're as shallow as a rain puddle. No, I take it back. They're so shallow they make a rain puddle look like an ocean. Sarah shook her head. She loved Abby. She really did. But why did she have to be so judgmental? But they rule the school. That's how it works. It's the beautiful people who get what they want. Sarah looked at Abby's gorgeous brown complex, at her striking hazel eyes. You could be beautiful too, Abby. You'd be the prettiest girl in the school if you lost the glasses, braids, and brought some clothes that weren't so baggy. If I didn't wear my glasses, I'll be walking into walls, Abby said, and with an edge to her voice. And I like my braids and my baggy clothes, especially this sweater. It's cozy. She shrugged her shoulders. I guess I just like myself the way I am. Sorry if I'm not fancy or fashionable enough for you. I'm not like the cheerleaders or all those models and pop stars whose pictures you have plastered all over your room. But you know what? I'm a nice guy. And I don't judge people on how they look or how much money they have. And I don't have to give a person a pop quiz to decide if I let them hang out with me or not. Abby looked at Sarah's face searchingly. You have changed, Sarah, and not for the better. Abby turned her back on Sarah and marched down the hall. Sarah knew Abby was a little mad at her, but she also knew an apology and a hug would fix things when she's had time to cool down. After the bell, walking toward the school bus, Sarah became suddenly aware of the presence beside her. Hi, a male voice said. She turned around to see Mason Blur, looking perfectly in the blue shirt that brought out the color of his eyes. Oh, hi. So Linda said that you guys were talking about me in the cafeteria today. Well, Sarah fought the urge to run. Say, if you don't have anything else to do you want to go over to the brown cow and have a cone with me? Sarah smiled. She could hardly believe her good luck today. I don't have anything else to do. The brown cow was basically a little concrete block shed that sold soft service ice cream and a milkshake. It was right across the street from school, but Sarah usually resisted the temptation of stopping there since she had always been worried about her weight. She stood next to Mason at the counter when the same bored, seemingly old lady always took orders. Chocolate, vanilla, or swirl? He asked her. Swirl, she said, making a move to open her purse. No, Mason said, putting up his hand. I got this. It's a cheap date. I can handle it. Thanks. He had said date. It was a real date. Sarah's first. They sat across from each other at the picnic table. Mason attacked his cone with gusto, but Sarah took tiny licks. She didn't want to eat like a pig in front of Mason, and she was afraid of the ice cream dripping on her dress and making her look like a slob. Even with her self-consciousness, though, she had to admit the cold, creamy treat was delicious. I haven't had ice cream in ages, she said. Why's that? Mason said. Watching your weight? Sarah nodded. No need to worry about that, Mason said. You look great. It's funny. You've been going to this school a long time, right? I don't know how I only just noticed you. Sarah felt herself blushing. You noticed me when I ran into you with the salad, right? Mason looked at her with his dark ocean blue eyes. I didn't notice you then the way I should have. I clearly need to pay more attention. Me too, Sarah said, so I don't keep blowing into people with trays of salad. Mason laughed, showing those gorgeous white teeth. Sarah was amazed of how confident her new looks made her feel. She could eat ice cream with a cute guy and make jokes with him. The old Sarah would have been much too shy. Not that a cute guy would have asked the old mix and match Sarah out for an ice cream in the first place. Once they finished their cones, Mason said, Hey, is your house pretty close? I could walk you back if you like. Sarah felt a twinge of anxiety. Mason's dad was a doctor and his mom was a successful real estate agent whose face is plastered on billboards. His family probably lived in a mansion on the fancy side of town. She wasn't ready for him to walk in with her past the garbage dump, plain little two-bedroom bungalow she shared with her living from paycheck to paycheck single mom. I actually have to run a couple errands this afternoon. Maybe another time. Sure. Okay. Was it Sarah's imagination, or did he look kind of disappointed? He looked down at his shoes, then looked back at Sarah. Hey, maybe we can go out for some real sometime. Pizza and movie, maybe. Sarah was pretty sure her heart just turned back flip. I like that. His expression brightened. How about this Saturday night? If you're free, of course. Sarah fought the urge to laugh. Had there ever been a Saturday night where she wasn't free all the same? She didn't want to sound too eager. I think so, yeah. Great. We'll plan on it then. Sarah couldn't wait for Eleanor to wake up so she can tell her about her day. Finally, after what seemed like ages, Eleanor provoked her waist and lifted her arms and said, Hello, Sarah. Sarah ran up to Eleanor and took both of her hands in hers. Oh, Eleanor, I just have the best day of my life. Eleanor turned her head. Tell me about it, Sarah. Sarah flopped down on the bed and propped herself up with a pillow. I hardly know where to start. The Beatles let me sit on their table at lunch, and then they invite me to meet them at the mall at Sunday. Eleanor nodded. That is good news, Sarah. Sarah leaned forward and hugged the old Freddy Fazbear teddy bear on her bed. And then Mason Blur took me for ice cream after school and asked me for dinner and a movie on Saturday. That's very exciting. Eleanor stepped close to Sarah, bent at the waist and touched Sarah's cheek. Is he a handsome boy, Sarah? Sarah nodded. She couldn't stop smiling. Yes, very. Are you happy, Sarah? Sarah laughed and repeated, Yes, very. Have I given you everything you wish for? Sarah couldn't think of a single other wish. She was beautiful and perfect, and her life was beautiful and perfect to match. Yes, you have. Then I have everything I wish for too, Eleanor said. But remember, even though all your wishes are granted, the necklace still has to stay on. You can never ever take it off, I remember, Sarah said. She had always tempted to ask Eleanor what would happen if she took it off, but a part of her was afraid to know the answer. Making you happy makes me happy, Sarah, Eleanor said. Sarah felt tears welling in her newly beautiful blue eyes. She knew she'll never have a better friend than Eleanor. On Saturday, Sarah was on the ball of nervous with a ball of nervous energy. From the moment she woke up, all she could think about was the date. At breakfast, she was too nervous to eat much, even though Mom had made French toast, Sarah's favorite. You'll drive me to the pizza place and drop me at 6, right? She said. Of course, Mom said, flipping through the newspaper. And you'll just drop me, right? You won't walk with me or anything? Mom smiled. I promise I will not endanger your relationship by letting your new beau catch a glimpse of my horrifying face. Sarah laughed. It's not that, Mom. You're very pretty, actually. It's just that it looks kind of childish when your mom comes with you, you know? I know, Mom said, sipping her coffee. I was 14 too, once, believe it or not. And did you ride your dinosaur when you went out on dates? Sarah asked. Sometimes, Mom said. But usually I just invite the boy over to hang out in the family cave. She reached over and tousled Sarah's hair. Don't be too much of a smart aleck, or I might decide I'm too old and decrepit to drive you tonight. Have you figured out what you're going to wear? At this question, Sarah let out a dramatic moan. I can't decide. I mean, it's just a pizza and a movie, so I don't want to dress up like it's the most important event of my life. But at the same time, how I look is really important. So wear jeans and a nice shirt. You're a beautiful girl, Sarah. You look great in whatever you choose. Thanks, Mom. She remembered what Eleanor had said about mothers always thinking their children were beautiful. She knew that her mom would have said the same thing to her even before she got Eleanor's help. When Sarah's mom pulled in the parking lot at the Pizza Plaza, Sarah's stomach was full of butterflies that she couldn't imagine there would be any room for pizza. She knew she looked nice, though, so that was some comfort. Text me when the movie's over and I'll come get you, Mom said. She reached over and squeezed Sarah's hand. And have fun. I'll try, Sarah said. Until recently, the idea of going out with Mason Blur would have been as realistic as the idea of her going out with a major pop star. It had been a fantasy, something she dreamed of, but never imagined would come true. Why was she so nervous when this was something she wanted for so long? Maybe that's why it was making her nervous, the fact that she wanted it so much. But when she walked through the doorway of the Pizza Plaza and saw Mason wave for her in the front of the hotel station, she immediately felt more at ease. He stood up and flashed his gorgeous smile. Hey, you look great, he said. Thanks. She didn't think the turquoise top she chose went well with her eyes. You do too, she said. He said he was dressed and casually in a hoodie and a t-shirt with some video games. But he would look great in anything. After they got settled in one of the red leather booths with matching check-up tablecloths, Mason picked up a menu and said, So what kind of pizza person are you? Thin crust. Thick crust? Any flavor toppings? I'm a flexible pizza person, Sarah said. Despite her early nervousness, she was actually starting to feel hungry. So I pretty much just like pizza in general. Except for one thing. No pineapple on pizza. Ever. Agreed, Mason said, laughing. Pineapple on pizza is abomination. It should be illegal. I'm glad we agree on that, Sarah said. If we hadn't, I would have just had to walk out of here and abandon you. And I would have totally deserved it, Mason said. People who eat pineapple on people deserve to be alone. They agreed on the thin crust pepperoni and mushroom pizza, and they chatted comfortably on about their families and their hobbies as they are. Mason had a lot of interests, and Sarah realized she probably didn't have enough of them. Before Eleanor, she spent too much of her free time worrying about her appearance. Not that the problem was solved, she needed to branch out a little, listen to more music, read more books, maybe take up yoga or swimming. As a little kid, Sarah had always loved swimming, but once she hit middle school, she was too self-conscious to let anyone see her in a swimsuit. By the time she and Mason walked next door to the movie theater, Sarah felt like they were getting to know each other pretty well. He wasn't just cute, he was nice and funny too. And in the dark theater, when he reached over and took her hand in his, it was the most perfect moment of a perfect night. When she got back home and was putting on her nightgown, Eleanor quietly strolled up behind her and put her hand on her shoulder. Sarah was startled but quickly recovered. Hi, Eleanor, she said. Hello, Sarah. How was your date? She asked. She felt a smile spreading on her face just from thinking about it. It was great, he said. He's gorgeous, but I also really like him as a person, you know? He asked me if I wanted to go to the baseball game. the basketball game with him next week. I'm not interested in basketball, but I'm definitely interested in him, so I'll go. Eleanor left her tiny giggle. So tonight was everything you hoped it would be. Sarah smiled at her robotic friend. It was even better. I'm happy, you're happy, Eleanor said. Then moved back to their spot in the corner. Good night, Sarah. In the morning, Sarah found her mom in the laundry room. Can you drive me into the mall to meet my friends this afternoon? She asked. Mom looked up from uploading driver and smiled. You're quite the social butterfly this weekend. What time are you supposed to meet him? She folded the towel and set it in the laundry basket. They said in the afternoon, Sarah said. That's very vulgar, isn't it? Folding another towel. I don't know, the way they said it, I kind of felt like I should just know what they meant. She was so shocked to be accepted, even in the trial period, by the beautifuls that she was afraid to ask questions. Your new friends expect you to be psychic? Mom said. You don't like my new friends, do you? Sarah said. I don't know your new friends, Sarah. I just know they're girls who haven't given you the time of day before, and now they're suddenly inviting you to hang out with them. It's kind of strange. I mean, what's changed? I've changed, Sarah thought. Just look at me. But she said, maybe they just finally decided I'm a likable person. Yeah, but what took them so long? Mom said. You know what friends of yours I like? Abby. She's smart and she's kind and she's straightforward. You always know when you stand with a person like Abby. Sarah didn't want to tell her mom that she and Abby weren't speaking to each other currently. So instead she said 2 o'clock. How about you take me to the mall at 2 o'clock? Okay, Mom tossed a towel at her. Now help me fold. Once Sarah got dropped at the mall, she realized that Linda hasn't said anything about where they meet up either. The mall wasn't that large, but it was big enough to turn searching for them into a very difficult game of hide and seek. She could text Linda, she supposed, but it kind of felt like in order to be accepted by the group, she had to figure out the way they did things without making a nuisance of herself. If she was only accepted into the group on a trial period, she didn't want to make any missteps. One false move and she would be back to eating lunch at the loser table. After a few moments of thought, she decided to head to Dillard's, the mall's most expensive department store. The beautifuls definitely wouldn't be hanging around somewhere cheap. Her intuition was good. She found them at the front of the store with a cosmetic section, trying on lip scalp. Sarah, you made it, Linda said, giving her a crimson lip smile. As soon as Linda smiled at her, the other girls smiled too. Hi, Sarah said, smiling back. She really had made it, hadn't she? And not just in the mall, she was great looks, a gorgeous, nice boyfriend, and a friendship of the most beautiful girls in school. She could have never been predicted that her life would be this good. Oh, Sarah, you should try on this lipstick, Julie said, holding the golden tube. It's pink with sparkles. It looks perfect with your skin tone. Sarah took the tube, leaned over the makeup counter mirror, and smoothed on the lipstick. It really was pretty on her. It matched the rosy nail polish that would never seem to fade from her finger and toes. It looked like lipsticks a princess would wear, she said, studying her reflection with pleasure. It really does, Tabitha said, opening up a tube of different color. Her Royal Highness, Princess Sarah. You should totally get it, Lynn said, looking at her approvingly. Sarah tried to check the price of the lipstick packages. $40. She hoped her shock didn't show. There was more than she paid than the outfit she was wearing. But then again, she probably couldn't buy lipstick in a thrift store. I'll think about it, she said. Oh, go on, Alma said. Treat yourself. I want to browse around a little more first, Sarah said, since I just got here. She didn't want to admit that the only money she had in her purse was enough to cover frozen yogurt and soda. The beautifuls, however, brought lipsticks and eyeshadows and blush and brown pencils, wiping out acts of cash or their parents' credit card. After they finished the makeup counter, they went to look at the former grounds because, as Linda put it, prom's just around the corner. Isn't it just for juniors and seniors, Sarah asked. It's for juniors and seniors and their dates, Linda said. So if you can find a junior or senior to take you, then it's just around the corner. She nudged Sarah. Too bad Mason's not older. Yeah, Sarah said. But she didn't mean it. She liked Mason the way he was. Besides, she wasn't sure she was ready to date an older guy. The dresses really were beautiful. They were color of jewels, amethyst, sapphire, ruby, emerald. Some were sparkly, some were dainted smooth and shiny, and others were translucent with lace and tuffle. They took turns trying to dress and modeling them in front of the mirror and taking pictures of one another with their phones. After half an hour of watching them with a sour expression on her face, A sailor lady come over and ask, "Were you girls actually interested in buying anything, or are you just playing dress up?" They ditch the dresses and flee to the formal wear department, giggling. "I didn't think the sailor lady liked us very much," Jillian said out the walk store. "Who cares?" Linda said, whining. "She doesn't get to judge me. She just works in the store. She makes minimum wage if she's lucky. I bet she can't even afford to buy the clothes she sells." They went to the food court and ate frozen yogurt and laughed about how naughty they'd been. "Do you girls intend on buying anything, or are you just going to play dress up?" Linda said over and over, mimicking the sailor lady. They all laughed, and Sarah laughed right along with them, even though she thought they might have been a little hard on the sales lady, who was just trying to do her job. Jillian and Emma had left dresses they tried on in crumpled piles on the dressing room floor. Now the sailor lady's probably going to have to clean that up after them. But who was she to criticize the Beautifuls? It was an honor that they invited her out with them. It was glamorous and exciting, like she was a guest at a reality TV show. No matter what they said or did, she was happy just to be included. Yesterday, her date with Mason had been perfect, and now she got to go out with the Beautifuls. How could she ever express her gratitude to Eleanor? Nothing she could say would ever be enough. That night, when Eleanor sprang to life, Sarah jumped up and hugged the robot's hard little body. "Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you for the perfect weekend." "You're welcome, Sarah." Eleanor hugged her back, and as always, the sensation was odd. There was no softness in her hug. It was the least I can do. "You have given me so much." Sarah settled down happily to sleep, but her rest was disturbed by a strange dream. She was on a date with Mason, sitting in the movie theater, but when he reached over to hold her hand, it was not his hand. She grasped but Eleanor's, tiny, white, metallic, and cold. The same hand she had grabbed to pull the robot girl out of her car truck when she turned on to look at Mason and the seat next to her. He had changed into Eleanor. Eleanor smiled, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. In the dream, Sarah screamed. She opened her eyes to find Eleanor standing over her bed, her head lowered and staring at her with a blank green eyes. She gasped, "Did I make a noise in my sleep?" "No, Sarah." Sarah looked at Eleanor, who was standing so close to her bed that she was touching it. "Then what are you doing standing over my bed?" "Didn't you know, Sarah?" Eleanor said, reaching out to brush back. "I do this every night. I watch over you. I keep you safe." Maybe it's because of the dream, but for some reason Sarah didn't feel like letting Eleanor touch her. "Safe from what?" Sarah asked. "Safe from danger. Any danger. I want to protect you, Sarah." Okay, thanks, I guess." She appreciated Eleanor's concern, appreciated everything Eleanor has done for her, but still, it was creepy for someone to watch you when you didn't know you were being watched, even if they were doing so with the best of intentions. "I can stand by the door if it makes you more comfortable, Sarah," Eleanor said. "Yeah, that would be great." Sarah was pretty sure she couldn't fall back to sleep with Eleanor standing right over her like that. Eleanor scooted over to the door and stood guard there. "Good night, Sarah. Sleep well." "Good night, Eleanor." Sarah didn't sleep well. She didn't know what, but something was wrong. In the cafeteria, Sarah stood in line with the other Beautifuls as they were waiting for to empty their tray. Linda had texted the night before saying they were all wearing their skinny jeans today. So Sarah was wearing hers, too. She brought the jeans and a few tops and a couple of pairs and cute shoes when her mom had taken her shopping the other week. There were also brought a few bras that did her new figure justice. "Can you believe what she's wearing? She dressed like a preschooler," Linda said. "Like a preschooler from a poor family," Tabitha added. With horror, Sarah realized the girl they were criticizing was Abby, who was emptying her tray ahead of them. True, Abby was wearing pink overalls, so the preschooling comment wasn't too far off the mark, but it seemed mean to reduce somebody's whole value as a person to the grocery rows. "That's Abby," Sarah had heard herself saying. "She's really nice. She had been my friend since kindergarten." She almost found herself saying best friend, but she stopped herself in time. "Yeah," Linda said, "but you bought new clothes since kindergarten, and she hasn't." The Beautifuls laughed along, too. Sarah tried to smile, but she couldn't quite manage it. When it was Sarah's turn to dump her tray, she stepped on something slippery near the trash can. Her new shoes was cute, but they didn't have much tracing. They felt like it took forever, but she was sure it was only a matter of seconds. But then she was flat on her back, right in front of the whole school. "Sarah, that was hilarious," Linda said. "What a cunt!" She was double over laughing. All the beauties were laughing along with her, saying, "Did you see her go down? And she hit the floor like a ton of bricks." And how embarrassing. In Sarah's day stage, she couldn't really tell which girl was saying. that. What? Their voices sound distant and distorted, almost if Sarah was trying to hear them underwater. Sarah tried to pull herself up, but something strange was happening to her body. She heard weird clashing and clanging sounds and couldn't figure out where they were coming from. It didn't make sense, but they felt like they were coming from inside of her. She was shaking and jerking, and she couldn't make her body move the way it usually did. Her body was no longer under her control. She was scared. Had she hurt herself badly? Somebody should just call her mom, call an ambulance. But why were her new friends not helping her? They were still laughing, still joking about how stupid she looked and how funny it was. Then the beautiful's laughter was replaced by screams. As if from a long distance, Sarah heard Linda saying, "What's happening to her? I don't understand." "I don't know," one of the other girls said. "Somebody needs to do something. Get a teacher, quick," another one said. A terrifying thought occurred to Sarah. She put her hand on her throat. The necklace Eleanor gave her, the necklace was never, ever to be taken off, was gone. She must have knocked it off during the fall. She turned her head and saw it on the floor just a little more than arm's length away. She had to get it back. A hand reached down to help her. Sarah looked up to see the hand belonged to Abby. She took it and allowed herself to pull up in an awkward standing position. When Sarah looked down at her body, she saw the reason for the girl's scream. Her body was changing from the waist down, and she was no longer flesh and blood girl, but a jambling collection of gears and bicycle spokes and handcuffs, rusted metal odds and ends, cast off, useless parts that belonged in the wrecking yard. She locked eyes with Abby and saw her friend's horror of what she was and what she had become. "I've got to go," Sarah said. Her voice sounded different, metallic and harsh. Abby held on the necklace. "You dropped this," Sarah said, tears sprinkling in her eyes. "Thank you, Abby. You're a good friend," Sarah said. She didn't say anything to the beautifuls, who had all backed away from her and were whispering among themselves. Sarah grabbed the pedal and ran as fast as her new, stumbling, makeshift Merle legs could carry her out of the cafeteria and out of the school. Home. She had to get home. Eleanor would know what to do, would know how to help her. Sarah was still changing. Her torso was hardening, and when she ran, she made a sparkling noise like a door with hinges that need oiling. She tried to fasten the necklace around her neck again, but her fingers had grown too stiffy to manage the clasps. As she hurried down the sidewalk in the carrying, people stopped to stare at her. Drivers slowed down their parks to gawk. People didn't look sympathetic or even confused. They looked scared. She was a monster, like something that had been created by mad scientists in a lab. It was only a matter of time until villagers started chasing her with pitchforks and torches. She felt like crying, but apparently the kind of thing she was becoming was incapable of producing tears. Maybe tears would make her trust even more. Her joints were getting stiffer and stiffer, and it was growing harder and harder to run. But she had to get home. Eleanor was the only one who could help her. Finally, after what seems like hours, she reached her house. Somehow she managed to work the key in the door. She clinked and clanged through the living room and down the hall, calling, "Eleanor! Eleanor!" Her voice was a terrible metallic scrapping. Eleanor was not in her usual corner of Sarah's room. Sarah searched the closet, looked under the bed, opened the chest at the foot of the bed. No Eleanor. Eleanor chopped through the house, searching for her mom's room, the bathroom, the kitchen, all the time calling Eleanor's name with her new horrible voice. The garage was the only place she hadn't looked. She used the kitchen entrance, but doorknobs were getting difficult to manage. Finally, after a few desperate minutes of fiddling, she was in the darkened garage. "Eleanor!" she called again. Her jaw was stiff, and it was getting harder and harder to form words. Eleanor's name came out as nah. Maybe the robot girl was hiding from her on purpose. Maybe it was some kind of joke or game. She looked at the ceiling-high storage cabinet against the back wall of the garage. It seemed like a good hiding place. With some difficulty, she grabbed the handle of the cabinet door and pulled. It was an avalanche. Clear plastic bags holding different objects with different weights and sizes toppling out cabinets and fell on the floor with a dull, sickening thud. Sarah looked at the floor. At first, her brain couldn't even process what she saw. One bag containing a human leg, another human arm. They were not the body parts of an adult, but they didn't appear to be the results of an incident. Blood pooled in the bottom of the bags, but the limbs were severed neatly, as if surgically amputated. Another bag, stuffed with bloody snake-wild entrails, and what appeared to be a liver, slid from the cabinet shelf and landed on the floor with a wet splat. Why would there be body parts in her garage? Sarah didn't didn't fully understand until she saw the small bag that held a familiar-looking potato-shaped nose. She screamed, but the sound that came out of her was like a squealing of a car brakes. Behind her came a metallic, fickling laugh. Sarah's lower body was almost immobile, and she dragged herself around to face Eleanor. "I made your wish come true, Sarah," the pretty robot said with another metallic giggle. And in return, Sarah noticed something she'd never seen on Eleanor before. A heart-shaped button just below Eleanor's throat that was a double on Sarah's heart-shaped pendant. Eleanor laughed again, and then pushed the heart-shaped button. She jerked and shook, but she was visibly softened. Her silver finish turning into pinkish shade of Caucasian skin. In a matter of moments, she was a dead ringer to Sarah. The old Sarah. The real Sarah. The Sarah who, looking back, it hadn't been so bad looking after all. The Sarah who had spent way too much time worrying about her appearance. Abby had been right. She had been right about a lot of things. Eleanor pulled an old pair of Sarah's jeans, one of her sweaters, and her tennis shoes. "Well, you certainly made my wishes come true," Eleanor said, smiling with Sarah's old smile. She pushed the button that opened the garage door. Sunlight flooded the room, and Eleanor, Sarah, gave a little wave, then skidded out in the sunshine and down the sidewalk. Sarah's ears filled with dense clinking and clanking. She couldn't control her movements. Different rusted metal parts disconnecting from her and fell clattering to the floor. She was falling apart, collapsing into an ugly trash heap. A hideous, useless collection of garbage to be thrown away and forgotten. And the old mirror propped up against the garage well, she saw herself. She was no longer a pretty girl, or girl at all. She didn't resemble a human or any kind. She was nothing but a rusty, dirty pile of junk. She felt sad. Then she felt scared. And then she felt nothing at all.